A very good afternoon to one and all present here. We are really happy to have you all on board for ABP Education Admission Fair webinar on new education landscape in Assam. I would like to begin with a brief introduction about ABP Education and what the admission fair is all about. So here we go. ABP Education is an educational portal which offers a complete solution to students transitioning from campus to career. It's their go-to for information on colleges, courses, examinations, results, admissions, scholarships, foreign education, career options, and expert advice and tips on student life. ABP Education has been a very renowned platform for all things required for students. As a part of their ongoing activities, ABP Education has organized an admission fair. The admission fair is a virtually organized event that started on 15th of July and has brought together several renowned institutes from across India under one roof. Students can join the virtual fair from the safety of their homes and get a chance to interact with Pan India institutes virtually and download brochures and forms and choose their best fit college. Students have also been attending a series of industry specific webinars where academic experts and seasoned industry veterans have been providing valuable insights. As these webinars have been ongoing from 15th of July, and today on 5th of August, we are really happy to have a really special session here with us with three esteemed panelists. Today's topic of the webinar is the new educational landscape Assam. This session would be moderated by Professor Ujjwal K. Chaudhary. Professor Chaudhary is a maverick who travels between media academics and media practice, between profession and social activism, between traveling and staying put. He has been till July 2021 the Pro Vice Chancellor of Kolkata based Adams University and had been earlier the Dean of Symbiosis and Amity Universities, apart from Pearl Academy and Whistling Woods International. He had been a wanderer, working as a media consultant in Nepal, consulting with Amsterdam Film School in Netherlands, working on films for WHO in several nations, and working with Accor Media in Dubai. He speaks and writes on various platforms and works in civil society initiatives of media, youth, entrepreneurship, and democracy. We are really honored to have you with us, sir. Over to you now.
Thank you for introducing both abpeducation.com and this program and myself, Ms. Shivangi. We begin this session with Honorable Director of IIT of Guwahati, Professor T.G. Sitaram. As we know, this pandemic has been unprecedented in every aspect of life. Education, obviously, is not untouched. UNESCO says 52% of Indian students over the last 15 months could not have 1 ounce of education due to digital divide. And the remaining 48% had different levels, some with proper laptop, smartphone, connectivity and everything, and some only from the smartphone, some with erratic, ineffective connectivity at times, at different levels. So there are challenges. But health was a priority for the nation, no doubt. And therefore, we had to conduct classes. Even I had to myself, I'm sure every mentor in the country had to conduct classes from the privacy of our homes, opening up our homes to the world through the camera. So this is where we are. And now we are moving to a stage where perhaps with vaccination gaining ground, I am fully vaccinated, by the way. I'm sure most of you are in the audience, getting vaccinated with every day, every passing day. Now we are moving to a post-pandemic world, perhaps, where there could be opening up of campuses. So we would like to know from Honorable Director of the University of the IIT, and also the Honorable Minister would be joining us any moment. He has just come out of the assembly. He will be joining in a few moments. So we'll be liking to know from them, all those who are listening to this from Assam and Bengal, parents and students alike, teachers and mentors alike, would like to know how we have faced this pandemic and how we intend or plan to face ahead, how normalcy can come through, how, particularly in the context of engineering education, which is very hands-on, practical, how do we go about doing that? So I request Professor Sitaram, who had found the time to be with us at in this afternoon. To begin by saying, how did you manage the pandemic at the IIT campus and kept the flame of education burning bright throughout the last 16 months? Professor Sitaram.
Namaste. Thank you, Professor Chaudhary, and thank you, ABP, as well. Straight away come to your question. The pandemic has hit not only the engineering education, the entire education, and how we have dealt with, I'm going to say a few words before that. In the pre-COVID era, the engineering education particularly had offline, classes, and particularly focusing on laboratory sessions. We gave a lot of emphasis on laboratory sessions at IITs, being an engineering school. Students had unhindered access to library, teachers, and laboratories, especially in IITs, most of the IITs. Interaction with industry representatives, officials, and even we have adopted many of the industry professionals as practicing professors at IIT. So we had actually, very good interaction before the pre-COVID era. But this COVID really has brought, as you have summarized very well, the all over the world. It is not only in India, all over the world. Maybe digital divide is more in India. So interaction between these stakeholders has all become almost zero. But at the same time, luckily, IITs are little differently placed. And even our students are differently placed. So definitely the online education system in the pandemic, we have taken to the next level. At least at the IIT, we have taken to the next level. This year, even though this second wave, after the second wave, we have lost many friends, many, distinguished personalities in the country. But even then, we were able to do the academics for our graduate students through online only, because we don't have any other alternative. Please understand, it is also the state protocols are there, restrictions are there. So in IIT, what we did is we have already conducted the convocation in July. So that speaks volumes of it, because we are the first IIT to complete the convocation. 1,400 students graduated with 220 PhD students. Some of the noticeable advantages of online education I'm going to highlight to you, because I've also written an article on what is the online education brings in. There are many disadvantages, but unfortunately, just because of disadvantages, we cannot throw them out, because we don't have any other alternative to online education other than the online education. So online education, with the help of various audio video tools, has increased the possibility of developing a different kind of interest among the students. Second, access to the teacher's lecture for the complete course duration is available anytime, not just during the lecture. Please understand, if an offline class is only during that lecture, but now because of the recording, even now the program, what you're doing is you're going to put it on the YouTube. So it's available to everybody to watch at their convenient time. That convenience has come in because of the online education. Videos of laboratory sessions. See, there is a program by the national mission of the DST that, called virtual labs. If some of you are not aware of it, please go through that labs, virtual labs, which are actually many IITs have contributed, including IIT Guwahati. So you could go through the laboratory sessions completely, but you may not be able to feel that through your hands. But unfortunately, in this difficult time, something is better than nothing. So in that process, the videos of laboratory session and demonstration through animations are found to be useful to recreate the laboratory classes, and our faculty have done that eloquently well, and I congratulate them. And remote access of the institute computers, computational facilities, round the clock is available to our students. Our library has done a tremendous work to put in most of the things online, both the journal, which was earlier only accessible within the campus. Now we have created, with all the security measures, even a student who is away can also access. But I don't think I can solve the digital divide which exists in the country. But those who have an access, we have provided all the infrastructure of the institute to them so that they have the access. Next, presentation, seminars, workshops, conferences. Today, 3D conferences were held at IIT Guwahati, where we actually delivered the conference in their homes. Now, the beauty of that is, all the conference volumes were available to everybody. They can download large amount of material free of cost. And the cost of organizing such conferences have come down almost one-tenth, which is an advantage. Online placement sessions have happened without any cost. We could complete, and our actually in IIT Guwahati placement was salaries of the students have gone up, not gone down. And number of people got appointments were also very high, very large actually when compared to offline time. Continuous evaluation, that is the one we changed in our academic evaluation. Continuous evaluation through multiple tests, quizzes, and interaction with the students with short examination, not a conventional 3-hour examinations. And these are found to be effective during this pandemic. Short evaluations, short examinations through online, so through using different multimedia modes, found effective in assessing the performance of the students. I think there is a long way to go. Many of these things we need to see leapfrog the technologies available to us. I think the education space has grown. The cost of education itself has come down because we cannot charge the same thing what we are charging for the students. So students have saved a lot of money because they're no more living. That doesn't mean that we have a lot of advantages of this only. No, I think still we would like to see our students back in a campus. Right. Even though it's a little costlier, we would like to have them back in our campus, interact with them. There is no alternative to that.
Right. Well said, sir. Actually, very perfectly, when during the pandemic, doctors were saving the world, you and mentors like you were shaping the world. At this point of time, to move into a completely digital learning was a fabulous thing to do. Undoubtedly, it was challenging. And I strongly believe the physical class, face-to-face class, in-person class is important for emotional and other aspects as well, as you were telling towards the end of the discussion that you just now made. So what were the challenges you faced, sir? If you could speak on that next. What were the challenges you faced?
So the challenges we started, when the pandemic started in March 2020. So we have to suddenly close down because the entire country closed down the campus. So we need to move close to about 5,000 to 6,000 students out of the campus. That itself is a challenge. And I would like to tell you, when we did this exercise of sending them back home, we looked at where are the IIT Guwahati students come from. They are actually from all 600 districts of the country. Can you see? Imagine that how much diversity we have. Even though we are located in the northeast, on the banks of Brahmaputra, in the north of Guwahati, but our students come from every district of the country, right, including Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Right. We had a student.
You have a centralized admission process.
That is one beautiful thing. At that time, moving them out is a very great challenge.
Right.
And then later on, initial days, our faculty were also not ready to completely move to digital. So right, we need to convince them. See, I had several sessions talking to them. We do not have any other alternative other than to move online. Right. So we did that. But first year we did got delays. So our first convocation in 2020 was September. Generally, right, we used to have our convocation in June and July. Okay, it moved to September. Okay. So even JEE advanced exams were delayed. Yeah. So even our first batch of students came in October, November for the BTech. So these were the challenges when we need to shift the academic calendars to different things and also train our teachers. Many professors, please understand, all of them were not ready even at IIT. We have to train them to go online with different kind of. We have boosted our the IT infrastructure in the campus. We brought the fibers into the campus with a very quickly, and then created a completely new classrooms, different kind of classrooms with all these gadgets where there are no students but there are gadgets. See, that's
Right.
there are no students. Students are going to be logging in from somewhere else. So all these took actually a
But
time
they will
to
be
set up.
useful. But they will be useful
Yeah.
going ahead, no doubt.
And thanks to Honorable Prime Minister, actually. Why? Because he was our chief guest for the 2020 convocation. Okay. And he, September 22nd, I still remember, Honorable Prime Minister addressed us online on our 22nd convocation. 23rd convocation was in July 16th, which was addressed by Sri Narayan Murthy of Infosys chairman. So this gave a lot of hope for the young people in the campus. So they were both were very positive and very highlighting the issues as well as challenges. So these were the challenges we faced at IIT Guwahati.
I understand.
We have overcome that. Thank you.
So you have spoken about the need and the context of online education, and also the challenges that you faced at IIT. Now the focus we can have on what plans you have for post-pandemic period, where though physical classes may be allowed, but may not be 5 or 6 days a week, maybe only a couple of days. There can be physical distancing. There can be many other restrictions that might come in to make education safer, for the educational spaces safer. So how are you going to bring in blended education, in what form and all, in engineering? If you could throw some light on that, sir.
Yeah, as you know that we have started bringing some of the research scholars back to campus. The close to about 2,200 research scholars are back in campus, because they are not just the students, they are also staff, because they are JRF, Joint Research Fellow. So they are, and what is the challenge is, the post-COVID era is, I think, we are going to stay with the part of the online education, as you very rightly worded, blended education. So it's going to stay, because many of them found a lot of advantages of the blended education. So definitely there is no alternative for laboratory. We have to do that, space it up, and keep smaller number of classes, students in the classes. So we are all actually now getting up, trying to see how we can do that. We have established the testing center, COVID testing center, vaccination center, quarantine centers within our IIT itself, completely independent of the state. And so that, we can take care of our students and also the campus residents. So we have prepared now, because of the pandemic, our physical infrastructure is also upgraded to handle all the network issues and all that. So we are ready for a blended education. We are already preparing. When we receive back, maybe we will not have a class where all the 200 students sitting together next to each other. Maybe we should have a physical distancing. The classrooms are also bigger. We have selected some classrooms which are very large classrooms where we can accommodate these students. So what is the challenge is, we have learned because of this pandemic is use of technology.
Right.
That it's very advantageous for both for delivering and also interacting, and with collaboratively can work together. So in that direction, we have actually done a lot of new innovations, and which we have also shared with all NITs in Northeast. 8 states, we had an interaction with how to really take these new technologies for a teaching. So we have also had a sort of a learning each other, networking. We did that. So many of the teachers in the NITs are also got benefited. We have offered all those new platforms and technologies developed at IIT to all of them. So these are some of the things which we actually, this is a difficult time. We shared our knowledge with the many people, because our faculty and students, one of the smartest, so they really took advantage of this pandemic and developed newer ways of teaching, learning process, newer ways of delivery, newer ways of connecting with the students, and also newer ways of evaluation. because luckily, we do have a freedom to the faculty. We have given a lot of academic freedom to the faculty so that they can complete. In that process only, they could really complete the academic requirements and could get into convocations. See, otherwise,
when do you think we can have the physical classes started?
Please understand, it is not the institutes who can take a decision.
Right.
Because the state governments have on the Disaster Management Act has a protocols, state protocols. So standard operating, they are releasing every week. We are actually watching Assam Government Health Department releasing this protocols. Whenever they say, yes, you can bring in regular students and have classes, we are ready to do it because we are really prepared very well. But unfortunately, right now, the protocol clearly says you have to do online and you cannot start regular classes. That means offline classes. So what they have allowed is all the research scholars back in the campus there, as I told you, research scholars are working on their research in the department, but classes are going online. Classes, theory courses are going online, even laboratory classes are going online, and we are not able to conduct them physically. We would love to first shift the laboratory classes to offline once this protocols are given permission for us to start operating.
Okay, thank you. That is really assuring thing. And yes, sir, the education cannot stop. Education must go on. The show must continue. There is no dispute on that. However, as you have rightly said, practical work gets a beating. So how about flipped classroom? Are you also introducing the concept of flipped classroom by which the learning resources are shared in advance before the learner actually discusses with the mentor these things digitally? What is the nature there? If you could give some.
Yeah, you're very right. Flipped classrooms we have adopted extensively during this pandemic. Okay, we have adopted extensively, but we have also insisted not just allowing the flipped way. We wanted a live interaction with the students as well. So we have made sure that there is a balance between live interaction online and a flipped classroom concept. So a lot of material is developed, and you have our own YouTube channel now to deliver materials, and a lot of new of these materials, thanks to again national education policy. At the appropriate time, Government of India has brought out the NEP 2020, which gives you a lot of freedom of doing all these things. It's a very new forward-looking vision, let me tell you, which will develop a good, well-rounded and creative individuals. So we use those concepts in advance. So NEP 2020, we have adopted them so that we can bring in multidisciplinary education, and then flipped classrooms, or blended classrooms, blended delivery, and all that is it was possible because we had a new policy which also emphasizes on credit transfer and multidisciplinary education. But definitely we would like to get back to the laboratories with our students. Luckily, we do, as I told you, we do have our research scholars on campus. So a lot of research is also going on. It is not that we are not in the laboratories. We are all faculty, we are all working in the laboratory along with our research scholars, but not the undergraduate and postgraduate students. They are not here. They are only online. So there is a very good mix of both available to our faculty, and faculty also gets additional time to do all these things. And so this is what we have done during this pandemic. Thank you.
Yeah, that has really brought in diversity of content as well, as I can see. Unfortunately, our minister hasn't been able to yet join, but we are still trying, and he might be. Let's take a couple of more questions, if you don't mind. Sir, going ahead, in the post-pandemic time, which areas of engineering education will be most significant? There are certain areas, the economy dictates, these will be the focus areas. What do you think in the post-pandemic revival of the economy, which domains, areas of education of engineering and technology will be most significant? the students listening can actually focus on them more.
Yeah. So see, as I told you, this is not only the pandemic one, it is also the NEP 2020 has brought in
Right.
new concepts. So an identified set of skills and values are also becoming part and parcel of our education system today. So which should be incorporated at every stage of learning. Sustainable livelihoods leading to economic development of the nation is being the focus, and we started teaching courses on sustainable development goals. SDG goals course is made compulsory to all the undergraduate students at IIT Guwahati. So we need to understand how to really alleviate poverty,
Right.
and how the higher education should do research which is relevant to societal problems solving. So which we actually, bring in local to global.
Right.
The skilling is the important aspect which we brought in, and we are actually conducting special courses. So in that, I would like to tell you the kind of courses which are becoming very popular is data sciences and artificial intelligence, intelligent cyber physical systems and robotics, and disaster management and research. And we also started a new school on health sciences and technologies. Okay, today the health science technology is also playing a critical role, because the pandemic it's about health issues. So our faculty has done a lot of work. So the conventional courses like biosciences, bioengineering, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering are now becoming a very multidisciplinary areas. So there are a lot of students are started taking these courses other than just their core. So luckily in IIT system, we had that freedom of choosing your own electives courses. So, and with NEP 2020 coming in, this focus is becoming much more of multidisciplinary education. So these are the new courses which are becoming very popular: data sciences and artificial intelligence. We have started an undergraduate program there, master's program we are running, and then cryptography and business schools are becoming popular. So even IITs are becoming a very multidisciplinary with humanities, health sciences, and medical type of areas. Plus we have engineering. Anyway, we had a lot of engineering schools, and then now sciences are also becoming popular. Physics, chemistry, mathematics are also, because fundamental science is also very key. And with this, multidisciplinary areas are growing. And even each courses also, students are also becoming a very multidisciplinary experts. They are taking different skills, learning different skills. And another important thing is really, because of this pandemic, we could also connect to many industries. Industry related research is also becoming very important in IITs. Every department we have now industry experts as advisors, so that with an intention of bringing in industry needs to our curriculum. So which is also happening extensively in IITs, and IIT Guwahati is no exception to that. And that's how we are moving ahead to really give broader perspective and lifelong education concepts to our students.
Great. This is the crux of the new education policy, and also the new lifetime education, self-learning, learning to learn. These are certain concepts which are evolving new. Sir, you just now talked about sustainable development. So in engineering, sustainable development would also equal, or rather include, sustainable energy, sustainable power. So looking at sustainable power in electrical engineering, looking at smart city in your civil engineering. Sir, you are personally a civil engineer as well, if I am not wrong. And you have already talked about artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analytics, and also similar other areas. So which sustainable aspects or technologies would be the flavor of the season moving ahead?
As I told you, the energy is a very huge sector, growing in a different way. India is going to be the leaders in solar PV. So our programs are also, we have a School of Energy Sciences and Engineering. In addition to that, our electrical engineering department has started a master's course in e-mobility,
Okay.
electromobility.
Right.
That is a very big thing today, because we have to build next generation mobility right now based on electricity. So which is going to be popular. Government of India has taken a resolution that they're going to make most of our vehicles and other things by 2030 driven by electricity. So electromobility is going to be the key, so which will completely change the way we commute. Automatically, the smart cities you talked about, and Government of India has adopted many cities and started rating them. A lot of new programs have come in. Even IIT Guwahati has a very large civil engineering department with 7 odd disciplines, where construction management, and there are everywhere, technology assisted learning is happening. Okay, every sector, you name it, environmental engineering, water resources engineering, geotechnical engineering, everywhere a lot of technology has a role to play. Like a global positioning system, geographical information system, remote sensing has played a very, very key role in many of these new areas of development, a lot of applications. So now our eyes is becoming very broader and also focused. So because with with remote sensing, sensing up to millimeter accuracy with the best satellite technologies have become a order of the day for all of our students. So these are new skills. Please understand, these are very high-ended new skills which our graduates and postgraduates are learning these new techniques now in their classes. So that actually brings in a lot of new changes in the way we drive applications and to solve the societal problems.
Great. And this is where a nationalist or a progressive or a development technology education comes in, where societal problems are actually sorted, not just making careers. Yes, careers will be there. Careers are important. You and all IITs and major universities in the country are actually contributing to career making. But much more significant is the solution of the societal problems and developmental issues. In conclusion, sir, if you could throw some light on what do you think is the role of Assam or Guwahati IIT in days to come in the broader context, education, society, local development, outreach, from all these, what is the bigger role that you are looking at as the director, as the leader of the organization in the coming time in Assam?
So when I joined in 2019, see, I'm from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and I joined as a director at IIT Guwahati in 2019.
Okay.
The day I came, I put an agenda saying that we need to move from tower of excellence. IITG was a tower of excellence in the Northeast to a network of excellence.
Wow,
we need to network with every institutions in and around Guwahati so that we could work with everybody and learn from each other with collaboration and reaching out and solving the problems of the local issues. And whether it is entrepreneurship, startup, or state-of-the-art testing facilities creation. See, we have created what is called as Northeastern Center for Biological Healthcare and Technologies, a center which is anybody can walk into IIT Guwahati from any institution in Assam, and even with sample preparation to very high-ended testing on microstructure to NMR to every state-of-the-art testing. And then coming to supercomputer, we have a 650 teraflop supercomputer which is also accessible to any researcher in the Northeast. So that means we are actually opening up our institution through digitally to everybody, so that at a very low cost we can actually give an excellence, a pursuit of excellence, whoever would like to pursue their excellence, to allow them to do that. So IIT Guwahati has taken a leadership role to connect with all the institutions in the Northeast and particularly in Assam, so that we have a lot of MOUs with a lot of local universities, even small universities, so that we would like to bring those students. And we have what is called as EICT Academy, that academy has conducted training programs to all Assam engineering college students. An internship also, online internship. Thousands of students have been trained through EICT Academy at IIT Guwahati, which gives courses related to electrical engineering, electronics, and then computer science related, high-end courses there, which are being offered through this NKN network to all the institutions in the Northeast. So that means, so India has the largest number of engineering institutions in the country.
Right.
And also it's going to be a global engineers, not just Assam. You see, what we are training today in Assam with other institutions, going to be the global engineers. So the skill levels are increasing, and high tech is coming in to day-to-day activities and to solve the local problems. This is what we have taken as a resolution, that we would like to move from tower of excellence to network of excellence.
That's a very beautiful statement. I think this is a good line for the media also to pick up, from tower of excellence to network of excellence, spreading the impact of excellence among other institutes as well, other educational institutes in the region. Are fabulous. If you really succeed to do that, and in spite of the pandemic and beyond the pandemic, this will be a great contribution to the Northeast and to IIT culture, and that will go a long way. Indeed. I have one more specific thing that I was wanting to ask. New education policy looks at technology-driven education in a very strong manner. What would you suggest to the education, engineering or technical education organizers or managers or regulators of the country, AICT particularly? What suggestions would you bring to make the engineering education more suitable to the new education policy principles and the needs of the country post-pandemic? What suggestions do you have for the regulator?
So we need to, as you see, as very clearly highlighted in NEP 2020, we need to bring the multidisciplinary curriculum. It is not just, please understand, when I say multidisciplinary, it is not starting departments in the same institution. They should start working together. They should have a joint students who are solving the real problems with a multidisciplinary approaches. And we need to also create state-of-the-art facilities. So AICT should make an attempt to every institution to create both teaching learning process becomes very, very effective, and also research focus. Every institution should be research focused.
Thank you. Honorable Minister has just joined. Can I request Dr. Ranoj Pegu, Honorable Minister of Education, Government of Assam, to come on the video? We were anxiously waiting for you, sir, to join. Thank you very much for joining. I know assembly was running. I understand.
Yes, then there was a communication gap as well.
Okay, maybe from the office might have happened. You are here. We were listening intently for the last 30 minutes to Professor T.G. Sitaram, Director IIT Guwahati, who is there in the meeting. He is expressing namaste to you. And
namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
So he has very nicely explained the concept of power of excellence of IIT to a network of excellence, sharing the knowledge of IIT with other institutions of Assam. That was very beautifully explained. And also he spoke about how pandemic was handled and all that. Dr. Pegu, what we'd like to know from you is how, as the Minister of Education, how did you, handle this whole big crisis? It is one century's biggest crisis in education. And large number of students could not afford the online education. How are you handling it? If you could speak a few minutes on that. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. This is really a very tough situation.
I know.
So what we opted for, particularly in the rural areas, to combine the online and offline education, we have mobilized our grassroots level many workers, which are semi-government or non-government personnel, starting from the Asha Karmi, then the Anganabadis, then there are the Gaumbudas, there are the ward member in everywhere. Then we mobilize them, and we also the cluster resource coordinators, they helped us a lot. And we have instructed our teachers to prepare, give assignment to the students, which are distributed to the doorstep of the students. Then right now in most of the cases, we have found that that smartphone is available with a great number of parents. And so we have formed a WhatsApp group, and through WhatsApp group, we tried to give our assignments and also get feedbacks. Then our diets played a very important role. They developed very important contents, teaching material, which were distributed through various platforms. And as of now, at present, as Assam situation is improving, our total cases are declining, as well as the positivity rate is also declining. So a few days back in our cabinet, we have decided that seeing that our total cases are coming down to 1,000, and the positivity rate is also going down to around 1 at present. So considering all these things, we are planning to reopen our schools and colleges from 1st of September.
Well done. Thank you. That's a great news.
Finally, for first, right now, in the first step, we will be opening the classes of 10, 12, and final year in colleges. Then seeing the experience, we will start opening the secondary schools, then the elementary schools as well. And personally, our chief minister and we feel it very strongly that the colleges, educational students should reopen as early as possible. Thank you so much.
I agree to that, and thank you for this announcement also that 1st September, selectively some classes will be opened. That's also, I'm sure, news for the Honorable Director, IIT Guwahati as well. You can now start planning for the reopening of the campus as well. IIT is a hostel-driven campus. Yes, that can be done. Thank you. The next question, sir, I would like to ask is that there is a large number of youngsters who have passed out of class 12 this time, who are listening to this program, and their parents. So for them, those who are just now passing out of class 12 and would be looking out to join the colleges, universities, and technological institutions, what would you have to say? Would they be able to start their regular classes properly from September or October? What are your message for them, that category of students?
I see that they should be able to start their education right now, and you see we have a large number of students passing out this year because of the evaluation procedure through which the results were declared. There is an increase of 10%. Last year our pass percentage was 88, and this time it has gone up to 99. So we will require more seats. So we are requesting the colleges to increase the number of seats to the maximum extent of 20%. And if possible, we are requesting all the colleges to have 2 batches if necessary. I repeat, if necessary, the day shift and evening shift. And COVID is basically the educational institutions shall have to make certain devices that they have to develop their own SOP. It is not that the state government will issue COVID-related SOP and everyone has to follow it. The colleges, institutions, they themselves can develop their own SOP, how school colleges are going to remain open following all the COVID-related protocols. The basic protocols are very simple, and they can have the 50% students, or they can have today, first day, day one, the class first year students will be in the college, second year classes will be there, or second semester. Likewise, they are to develop their own SOP and fight this COVID menace.
Right. And sir, it is quite fine if we move to blended education, half physical and half digital. People and Dr. Sitaram had already was speaking about the blended thing earlier. It is but natural that in the given situation, why should we do away with the gains or benefits of technology? And also we need the face-to-face. See, if I had read your article and I'm listening to you, there's a difference. There's a big difference. And if I had listened to you face-to-face, there would be a big difference. So the same thing happens in school colleges. The peer relation. Yes, you're saying something.
Right. In my opinion, nothing can replace a classroom.
Right, physical
Classroom,
touching,
physical
learning.
classroom shall have to be there. But the question is now blending, acquiring using the technology, the blending of online and offline education. That is where we need to focus on. And this is a very broad area of so many concepts are being developed, so many platforms, devices are being developed.
Right.
See how best we can say transform we can take the classroom into the online platform.
Right.
There is two end. On one end, the teacher is sitting, on the other end, the students are there. We cannot exactly know what the students are doing in the other end of the system. So dedication, devotion of the students also to the learning process, that is very, very important in the system. So the devices, these apps, certain apps which I have seen, certain softwares which I have seen, whereby you can not only monitor but assess the students' participation in the in the learning system.
Right.
So that active participation of the students in the learning system, and also assessing the teachers' involvement in the process, those are very critical areas where we should, I think, focus on about taking further this online education system.
Very well said, sir. Very well said. Alongside, there has to be training the trainers. That means
Yes.
our teachers are accustomed to the traditional means of learning and teaching as we have learned in our childhood. I was a student of Sir Ramakrishna Mission, Arunachal Pradesh.
Okay.
And my classmate was Bhaskar Pegu, who is secretary in the CMO now.
Yes, right.
So he might have talked about this program to you first, I said.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so that means, our education was very different. And we regaled the fact that we took books in our bag and went to the school and met the teachers every day and all that. We used to touch the feet of the teachers because that was the culture we had and all that.
Yes.
Now, there has to be a new, pattern of mentoring. Teacher has to become a mentor and student has to become a learner. So in a learner, the learner himself is more enthusiastic. And the mentor is not the last word. He is only supporting with, various ways. So this mentoring has to be taught. I believe the government may need to do some workshops on preparing the trainers. Some key teachers, the best performers should be taught, one teacher in a school who will also train the other teachers, other mentors, how to do this blended learning and technology-driven learning. Very nice listening to you on this. Sir, you have come, new government has come only a month ago or 2 months ago. Okay. And what plan do you have for the next 1 year? And I'm sure there must be some thinking going on. The next budget is in March only. You had the previous government was also same party, but the ministers and the composition might have changed. So what are the plans you have for the next few months till the next budget?
Basically, we are addressing our fundamentals. Right. Our fundamentals are not correct in the state. There are so many critical gaps. So we are addressing, number one, the teacher. We do not have a good number of trained teachers. Okay. Majority of our teachers are untrained. So how we can make them trained, that is one area of our concern. Another area of our concern is our infrastructure and electricity and net connectivity to our educational institutions. So this year we have decided to invest a huge amount in infrastructure. We are planning to build infrastructure of 2,500 primary schools with investment of ₹50 lakh each in all the schools. Then we have also planned, we have worked out that there are 209 number of secondary schools which were established 75 years ago. So as in 2022, we'll be celebrating our 75th year of independence. Right. So all these 209 schools established 75 years back will get an investment of ₹3 crore each. So basic this infrastructure, there are other plans. I cannot detail everything now, but there will be a huge investment on the part of this infrastructure development, and for teacher availability to maintain, to achieve a good PTR in our schools. we will be recruiting around 22,000 teachers in the next September and September,
That is
October.
very good, sir.
Yes.
So much of jobs
And-
also.
Yes.
In this pandemic time, people have lost jobs. The economy has gone down. So if you are creating 22,000 teachers, new jobs, that's
Yes.
22,000 families being
Yes.
supported. Thank you very much. That's a very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Higher education. Any suggestions for higher education?
Higher education, we have started constructing some model degree colleges. Then we are focusing on the professional colleges, some about the law colleges. And we are also focusing on women education. So with specific focus on women education, we are constructing around 18 colleges, women colleges. Then this year we have decided we have an Assam Women University.
Oh, good.
This was established in 2013, but was not progressing well. But this year we have taken up so many pending works we have completed within a very short period of time. In just 3 months, we are taking forward this Assam Women University. Then we are establishing another 5 state universities, and all the universities acts got passed, the statute got passed. We are now allocating rupees 50 crore each to all these 5 new universities.
Okay.
Then engineering colleges also, and the polytechnic, we are focusing. There are 26 numbers of polytechnic institutions which are being developed. Then there are new engineering colleges we are establishing. So these are the things. Then about running B.Ed, integrated B.Ed course. We are developing a roadmap. How can we match the NCT guideline for integrated B.Ed course? So these are the things we are doing in the higher education.
Dr. Pegu, there has been a large number of students from Northeast, particularly Assam, who leave that region to study in Pune, Bangalore, Delhi. I was Dean of Symbiosis. I had some extraordinary Assamese students. I remember Siddhartha Bortumuli and many others. Siddhartha is today a Tata Group, top guy in the Tata Group. So, but then there is also a challenge. A huge amount of money is spent by the parents while they go out of the city and to far off places and all that. So what sort of development would you suggest in the educational infrastructure, both private and government, so that the learners can get the options that they want or the quality that they want inside the region, inside the Northeast region?
Migration of students from one place to another place for education is a phenomenon which has been taking place since the ancient time.
Right.
And we know always we have a history that most of our renowned persons here, the enlightened persons, the highly educated persons, they got their education either in Kolkata, Benares, or Dhaka in the past. So that trend is continuing, migration of students to Delhi, now Bangalore, Pune, etc. I do not see anything wrong there.
Right.
But at the same time, we need to develop our own institutions. In last 1 decade or more, the service sector has developed very well in Assam. We have now 8 number of medical colleges running. So another altogether in next 5 or 6 years, Assam will be a state with around 23 medical colleges.
Oh, really? Achha.
Yes.
That's quite a big number.
Yes, all other medical colleges are in the offing. Some of their construction is going on. Then engineering colleges also, we are trying to have around 20 numbers of engineering colleges, 26 number of polytechnic institutions, and then for other the degree colleges, universities and degree colleges, we are trying to develop them. We have already got 3 autonomous colleges, the JB College, North Lakhimpur College, and Nagaon College. These are 3. We are focusing especially on these 3 autonomous colleges to really make them autonomous and institute of excellence. So this way, when our educational institutions will grow, I believe there will be a reverse flow. So we are not thinking of stopping our students from going to
Outside,
other
yeah.
states,
Yes.
but we want to attract students from our neighboring states to Assam.
Exactly. It can be the hub of Northeast,
Yes.
at least the Northeast and Eastern India can be
Right.
a good hub. And the climate is good. Assam's climate, the
Really
food,
nice. Yeah.
the culture. I very much remember the Tenga fish. You know,
Yes.
every time I go to Guwahati, the first delicacy is Tenga fish. And there are other things also. There are many beautiful ethnic food restaurants in Guwahati as well. Nice. I really appreciate, sir, that you have the facts and figures almost at the back of your hand. You remember the facts and figures
Yes.
that you are putting forth. So, sir, in conclusion, what suggestions would you have? Okay, so there is Honorable Director of the IIT was also here. And IIT has been doing a phenomenal work also over the last so many years, I think almost more than 1 decade. Sir, how old is the IIT Guwahati? When was it?
27 years.
So that's
old.
almost 3 decades. 3 decades.
Yes,
That's a pretty long time.
94. See, it started with in 1994. I think Dr. Pegu or maybe many of them are also part of that movement, because it
Okay.
started with Assam Students Association.
Okay,
Yes.
acha. Okay, great. That's
The result of
historical.
the Assam Accord, we got it.
As a
Yes,
result
Assam
of the Assam
Accord. It is
Accord.
part of Assam Accord in 1985.
Right.
It started
sir,
in 1994.
So, Dr. Pegu, what suggestions would you have? Honorable Director is here, Honorable Minister is here. What would you expect the IIT to do socially impactful work and otherwise, other than the regular classes for Assam, for the development of Assam? Any expectations?
IIT Guwahati is doing excellent job. They're not only teaching the students, I know for so many technology consultation they are providing. So IIT Guwahati is now a big name. So our departments like Water Resource Department, I know they get so many important consultancy service from IIT Guwahati. So IIT, it has opened the vision of the students of this region as well. That is a great news, and we are proud that such institution is located in Assam.
Very nice. That's very good.
And of late, this NIT Silchar is doing very well. CIT Kokrajhar is also doing very well.
Very nice. So there is a technology and medical, both sides education is evolving strongly in Assam. Sir, in conclusion, again, this program is being organized by the Anandabajar Patrika Group, ABP Group. They have their newest baby. You know Anandabajar, you know Telegraph. Their newest baby is abpeducation.com. It is a dedicated portal for education only. And it was it is a COVID baby, sir. It was born in April 2020 when India was in lockdown, because when we could not all come. So I'm an academician, but I have been associated with them from the content side. So what suggestions would you have for us? A media that is dedicated to education. As Education Minister of Assam, what suggestions would you give to them?
So since the day I became Education Minister, I have been appealing everyone that education is not exclusively a government business.
Right.
Education is a community business. If there is no involvement role of the community, government alone can do nothing.
Right.
So government can, at best, it can provide the infrastructure. It can help in recruiting faculties, but it is educational institutions are basically, these are community institutions, social institutions assisted by the government. So a media house is coming forward with this. This is great. And I really thank the Anandabajar Patrika Group. I really thank the group for coming forward with an education project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will request Professor T.G. Sitaram to add his suggestions for education media to abpeducation.com. What role should such a media house contribute to educational scenario of the country?
Yeah, thank you. I think Dr. Pegu has clearly highlighted what you should be doing and what is your role. But I would like to tell you, you should also maybe look at some of those trainers of trainers. The teachers training at rural places is very, very important. So you maybe, with collaboration with the institutions in the Northeast, you have the power of reaching out to nook and corner of the state of Assam. So with that, in mind, if you take the technology through the teachers training and teacher education. And that would actually bring a lot of changes in the rural areas of Assam.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Look, I look forward.
Yes, I request both Dr. Pegu and Dr. Sitaram to contribute later on one article which highlights the new developments that are happening. In case of Assam education as a whole, Dr. Pegu has given this thing, the whole thing, your vision and your approach, the next 1 year's plans, all that you have said can be one good content that we can put on our portal as well and put it before the readers. Similarly, Dr. Sitaram can talk about engineering education of the future in a blended world in the post-pandemic times in India, in particular context of IIT Guwahati. With these requests to both of you, thanking you profusely for your time. And in spite of the assembly and other meetings, Dr. Pegu has joined, and you speak so well, so fluently. It was so seamless discussion that we had. And Professor Sitaram, thank you for the entire hour that you spent with us, and you shared a lot of facts and figures. We shall meet again on some other occasion. With this, I will bring this session to an end. Thank you, both of you, for this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar.